Yeah, and some you can.
Some, yeah, you can't help it because they speak.
Well, I do know that when I used to go in human form, and I drove a big truck, semi-18-wheeler across country, and I'd go into a lot of these truck stops, and the little women would be there. But I'd have on my boots and my jeans, and, you know, you have to have boots. Really, you don't have to, but you should, because you own these fuel centers, you know, and it's oil and water and snow, you know what I mean? So you have slick. But I'd wear real tough boots, you know, for a woman, but that'd put me even taller. I'm 5'11", so I'd stand 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" sometimes, so 2-inch heels would put me about 6 feet. But then, you know, I wore 230 pounds. Sometimes I was up to 275 or 280. And people still didn't say I was fat. I was just big, as big as most men, 235. You know, very few, a lot of men out there about 230, 235. But a lot of bigger ones, too, driving trucks because we just sit a lot. But anyway, I'd go in there. Yeah. But I can't tell that because you're on the phone, right? I mean, you're on the radio, so I can't tell. Well,
I don't weigh but 118 pounds.
Is that wet, or is that with your clothes on?
That is it. 118 pounds. I've been that weight since I was 16.
My husband was that way at 118 when he was, I think he got down to 109. But when I met him, he was 165. And then he got up to 185, and the Army got real mad at him. He started putting on weight. And then when he lost 20 pounds, but he was driving a big truck when I met him, and he'd gotten down to 135, 136. And but he still, his legs were huge. I think that's as high as I've ever been, is about 130. He was only 5'7", though. I was 5'11".
I'm only 5'3".
You really are 5'3"? I thought you were a lot shorter than that.
5'3", that's it.
Well, was your daddy short? Your mama short?
Well, my mama was.
Well, but you weren't from the hills of Kentucky. You were from New York, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's anything to the genes carrying the codes or not?
Well, yeah, I took on my mother's genes. Yeah, I took on my mother's genes, and my father was 6'3", and my brother's 6'3".
So something to do with the biological suits and the mother and the father.
It has to do with genes. I took her genes for the height, and my brother took my dad's genes for his height. My great-grandfather was 7'3".
And nobody got his? There's nobody else after his generation?
No, there was just the 6'3".
Wow. If he was 7'3", well, then the next generation would be your father, right? Because your grandfather and your mother's are your father's.
No, my great-grandfather
was 7'3".
It was my father's father that was 7'3".
And then how tall was your father?
He was 6'3".
6'3", and then you become 5'3". So y'all losing a foot a generation. Did you notice that?
Well,
7'3" to 6'3" to 5'3".
It was because of the inbreeding, or the females were always smaller.
Well, my mom, when she had me, was 5'9", and my dad was 6'3". So they're considered tall, right? Because I'm 5'11". But I was born 10 pounds and 3 ounces at 11:30 on December 26, 1951 in Ouachita Parish. And I saw that today in a letter she wrote, and she didn't even know what being pregnant was. My grandmother didn't tell her that, great-grandmother. Now, on her mother, there were some King Griffin. We're from the Griffins, like Gryffindors of Harry Potter. So in Ireland, red-haired Ireland people, big, tall dudes. I think he was, how tall was he? Lord Griffin or Griffin King, or anyway, on one, you know how you have a bunch of people that make you up, but I had was the tall people in Ireland, Griffin, Ireland. Where was that? Let me see. I don't know where that is. Why is it something comes on my head and then I don't know it? So, but only because I'd have to look it up. But here it is, Kenzada Parsons, Richmond. It says now this is only one. So my father was devoted. Wait, what the heck? That ain't it. That's me. Reason tribute to women's family. Let's see. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the cover letter. This is some of the stuff I didn't know any of this existed. But what it is I made it happen years ago. So there is something to writing stuff up in there. And it'll come back to you 30 or 40 years later. So this was, I found this old notebook that my grandma had, and I snuck it when I was a kid. And in there, I had it because this neat mandala was on the front in old ink. And it was a family story. And I wished I had it, but I don't. But my great-great-grandma had it. And they were from Ireland. And, man, stuff through the years you just lose. And they had it all this time in the house. But I think they were tall. But I wish I could find, let's see. I'm looking real quick to see if I can find how tall it was, because it was the Griffins of Ireland. Now, that's just one side, because my dad's name was Thurmond, and they traced it over to England. And it was Thurber, Thurber, but we were under Thor's protection. And I went over to Europe and looked up a bunch of family genealogy stuff. But this says something about a family Bible. So, Big Family Bible made me feel important. Ronald Bruce Richmond, Gay Richmond, Billy adopted it, blah, 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 blah. But where's about the Griffins? I wanted to read the Irish part because my daughter did one of those things when she had her kids over, and now they were fighting over the Thurman kids in the system because of the name, I think, but keeping them in the system. Because my daughter's dead now, the one that just died, and her kid's in there in my living room. Here's about the Spa Wars. You like that stuff, though. A lot of people like that stuff, history of what happened in the 80s. Some people say they lost it. They like the book 1984. Here it is. Ferdinand Cortes Griffin, born in Ireland, 1837 to 1842. Married Catherine Holden, 3/4 Irish and 1/4 Scotch. Born in Ireland. It says Griffin is Welsh, the last crown prince of Wales before the English took over. Was named Griffin. Gruffydd. Gruffydd. Became Griffin. So Gryffindor. Let's say great-great-granddaughter. So they had 3 children born in Ireland. And Emma Catherine Griffin born in Grand Tower, Illinois. So I guess they came over in the 1800s to America. So 1842. So America was over-established with the Irish side, but my dad's side signed the Declaration of Independence on the Thurman side. But it wasn't Thurman, it was uncles. But their name is not John Hancock either. But it was one of those. So Ferdinand's second wife at Griffin. And they were all over St. Louis and Kansas. And, we got people all over the world. Yeah, here it says was over 6 feet tall. So I knew it. I remembered something in here. It doesn't say how tall, but it was over 6 feet by the time they got to Missouri. Great dancer, 6 feet tall. Well, my dad was a great dancer and roller skater. I remember my parents roller skating in this reality in 3D form. Now, where'd they go when they died? So that's what we were, with people like me. I don't know what people are going to be interested in. Do you? With me and you, when we're doing this Allied Command. You like all that military stuff, right, for the platform, for you and me and Ken, because we're veterans. Is that it? How this is going to grow?
I'm just interested in anything strange and unusual.
Me too. Yeah, it makes me hold on to my sanity when I start getting too logical.
Yeah,
Well,
if,
we
it,
got
if
left
it's
and right
strange
brain.
and can't be explained, then it's something that needs to be explained.
Well, that's our food. That's our nourishment. It's not just human origins and the food we eat, but the lifting the veil, or the cosmic knowledge, gives us hope. For the left brain wants you to be logical and do all that. Or, we've got the brain that's cut in the middle, and they still don't understand the brain because we're not the brain. They know that we're cosmically not the mind, too. They know, even science knows, that we have spirit, right? So it's all that New Living Expo kind of stuff, But leaving Earth, we're going to be about, what are we going to be about? Here, let me tell you, I'm looking at something here on Ken. Now, I don't know what, for it, folks, I don't know why this stuff is together. I don't know why it came up, but Ken's not here right now. But it says here, Ken Johnston, did we really go to the moon? One of 4 civilian astronaut consultant pilots that tested the lunar module at the Johnson Space Center in the 60s. Ken helped NASA astronauts. He helped train them and prove that we really did go to the moon, and debunk theorists who say we did not. You'll receive it, but proof needed. An explanation with why director Stanley Kubrick created the film showing about the moon landing. Folks, that was a backup, and I don't know about all that because I haven't studied it. But just in case we didn't make it, Stanley Kubrick was going to have that film, I guess. So it doesn't mean we didn't. But some kids, it's like a meme or a Mandela effect. They don't know except what they've heard. They haven't really researched it, or they didn't live it. But I lived through it. I know what all was going on. But anyway, part of Johnson's duty was to provide photographic and preliminary analysis of the lunar samples that contributed to scientists from around the world. And I know he worked in a photo lab. But Dr. Ken Johnson, a retired engineer, U.S. Marine, and NASA whistleblower, because really they threw away. We used to shred and get rid of a lot of stuff, but he refused to follow orders when he was told to go chunk it in the big trash, because he was like, why are we getting rid of all this stuff, So it was high-resolution photographic collection. So he grabbed a copy. There were 6 copies. Some girl grabbed 1 copy, but it was during the Apollo program when my husband worked there. When they said bogey 10 o'clock high, and my husband had me come up and listen to it because he was running the typing pool, and they had to. We used to do that. We'd get rid of classified and shred stuff so people wouldn't know it. That's the truth. So people turned down this. Let's see. It says after being turned down as the astronaut recruitment, he joined NASA's educational outreach program as a solar system ambassador. And I've got 5 of his. Those badges we wear. He's got 5 of those. He was a solar system ambassador. So he still speaks to civic and youth groups now that he's retired from space exploration careers in engineering and science. But he goes out and does speaking. He's a speaker now. And he's mine and Tom's. This is Thomas R. Becker. Thomas, you don't ever go out and speak on anything. You've been 40 years and then been raised. After you were Navy, you started. What'd you do? You're always painting and doing artwork. Because I've seen you. Your house has got. I haven't been to his house. I've never met him. But in the background, like you said, on the internet offers you, I could see all your craft stuff. And you make jewelry and paintings. And I've seen your artwork. You got some on. Do you still have any on Zazzle? You make artwork, right?
Oh yeah, I got posters up there and stuff like that, plates, and it's AMAD's Open Canvas up there.
On Zazzle, AMAD's Open. That's AMAD. Now, AMAD, how did you get that? Because you're Thomas R. Becker or T.R. Becker. But how did you get a mad painter? Was it a handle like a truck driver or a painter?
Yeah, back at the beginning of the internet, nobody used their real name.
Yeah, they did. They used to give them.
Either.
Yeah, back then they used handles or something, right? Like truck drivers do. But gradually they've been trying to change all that, especially with all the hackers and people doing, and they get mad because they're not real. So we're trying to run a real trusted brand here, folks, just so you know. It's not easy these days because you don't really know in the internet who's who. but I'm going to do my best to help know who the people are in their human form. Did you ever study Laura Eisenhower?